Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
I want to turn now to the final three questions that I ask all my guests who honor me by coming on. And this one actually connects a little bit to Alfred Nobel in that it's about your ethical will. It's about the kind of wisdom that you want to leave for the future. And as you know, Alfred Nobel was never married, had no children. He had some nieces and nephews, or a niece and several nephews, but he gave most of his money to the Nobel Prizes that bear his name, and they were to be given to the person who, by their discovery in physics, conferred the greatest benefit to mankind. In other words, it wasn't just enough to discover something, interesting, curious, some factoid. You had to do it, and it was in service or benefit to mankind. So in that sense, it wasn't just a material will, it was an ethical will about what he viewed as the most valuable thing was wisdom. I want to ask you, John, when you reach the mythical age, biblical age of 120 years old, what ethical wisdom do you want to leave for your ideological heirs, of which I count myself as one?
Oh my goodness, so that's a big challenge. Thinking, I think we can't really see the grand picture, but we can say we see the local picture, and we hope that it propagates. So we can say, I'm going to do the best that I can with the people that I'm with, so that we all proceed ethically together. We do not cut corners. We are, at least in the sciences, we are, as the Sigma Xi Society says, zealous companions in pursuit of research. So that's their motto. So I think spreading out to a wider territory, it's pretty clear that if our society is to survive for more than a few centuries, we're going to have to place immense faith in the work of scientists and engineers. So I do what I can in that direction. Measuring the Big Bang doesn't have obvious connection to that. On the other hand, there's a kind of situation which happens often, which is we astronomers want to invent something because we want to know the answer to something, and it turns out to have some completely unexpected application. There's a story that maybe you should tell if we got another minute, which is there's an inventor who figured out how to measure the shape of the Webb telescope mirrors as they were being polished. And after he got done doing that, he said, I think we could improve what you have in the eye doctor's office. And so we went on to invent a piece of equipment which is now in most eye doctor's offices. So if you want to see better, or if you want to get your eyesight corrected, or if you want the doctor to be able to see what's in the back of your eye, you are now using an invention that was made by that person who got ready to do it by making the Webb telescope mirrors. So this is not technology spin-off. We didn't say invent this for that,
right?
But we made a person who was able to do that.
Right. Well, it's good that he didn't do that in the late 1960s, because then you would have maybe had some kind of surgery and got drafted to the Vietnam War. And then who knows what would have happened, John.
No, so I did not go to that one because I was actually extremely nearsighted.
Right. I recall that story. The next question also involves the future, but now we're going 1 billion years out. And it recollects Arthur C. Clarke's 2001 A Space Odyssey, the movie version of which Kubrick shows these monoliths, these black objects that seem to come up every so often. And they seem to be like time capsules meant for humanity to encounter when we're intelligent enough, experienced enough technologically to unravel what's inside them, perhaps, or what they convey. I want to ask you kind of a version of your hero and my hero, Richard Feynman. He had this cataclysm question. He said, if all information were destroyed and only one sentence could be preserved in this time capsule that I'm sort of suggesting, he just said for the next generation of creatures, he said, what statement would contain the most information in the fewest words? I'm not going to restrict it to one statement, but what piece of information John, would you put on a time capsule guaranteed, like the Voyager 1 record that I spoke with Carl Sagan's widow, Ann Druyan, about? She put her brainwaves on it. There's musical sounds. What would you put on a time capsule to encapsulate either what's important to you or something about science that you think will endure for millions or billions of years?
Well, I got asked this question in the middle of a musical event once in Lindau, which we were putting on. And I said, actually, what I'd like to get on this next record, the next Voyager record that goes out of the solar system, should have the United Nations Declaration of Universal Human Rights. So the way that we did that in the performance was pieces of it were read out loud simultaneously in about 8 languages. So it was a way of saying, well, we're all in this together, and we do actually intend to treat ourselves and each other with respect and dignity.
It's wonderful.
So I think that is something that I would like to see happen. And I think we could make it happen, but we do need to understand ourselves a little better than we do.
Well, in order to help ourselves understand ourselves, my final question is related to the name of the podcast. So I already mentioned one of Arthur C. Clarke's famous laws, that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. He also had another quip that for every expert, there's an equal and opposite expert, kind of like Feynman's quip about trusting the ignorance of experts as science goes. But his other statement that from which the podcast name derives is the only way of determining the limits of the possible is to venture a little way past them into the impossible. I want to ask you sort of advice to your former self. What would you tell yourself as a 20-year-old, 30-year-old kid, as many of my listeners are, that would give you the kind of courage and maybe benefit of wisdom to go into the impossible as you have?
Okay. I think we are all in the same position, that we do not know the future. We have the opportunity to look for things that we might do that nobody's ever done. That's sort of scientist's job. Maybe it's everyone's job. But at any rate, it's easier to talk about when you're a scientist than to make a direct application to every job. But at any rate, there are so many ways that I'm thinking of to make something happen that never would have happened without me. And so once in a while, an idea comes to mind. And I say, that would be really cool if we could do that. And usually it's impossible or nearly impossible. So a couple of years ago, I had an idea about putting an orbiting laser beacon in space to get sharper images with big telescopes on the ground. Well, this is kind of crazy, but maybe it's not crazy. So we're actually working on it. We got NASA to support it.
Wow.
So in a little while, maybe we'll be able to make those great telescopes that we're building and have already built a bit more powerful than they ever would have been.
Wow.
So once in a while, you get lucky in a thought process of your mind and they say, oh, well, I should try that. And I think the mindset that makes that interesting is, well, why not? Let's try it. See what happens.
That's one. Yeah, try it. That's a wonderful way to close out this fascinating conversation. John, I want to thank you so much. We don't know each other really well, but you should know you've been a huge influence on my career. I don't blame you for any of my mistakes, by the way, and nobody should. But John has been really a remote mentor to me, and now with the benefit of technology such as this, we can sort of be close together. I hope I can see you again soon when things are well in the world. I wish you all the best. I know you're super busy. Thank you for being so gracious with your time. Have a great rest of your day, John.
Thank you, Brian. It's been a pleasure talking with you and your listeners.
Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.